Hey everyone. So I've literally been sleeping for 3 straight days in my bed. So I told myself that I wasn't going to feel sorry for myself, and I told myself that I better get my ass up and be productive today. So usually when I get in funks like that, I usually get up and kind of glam up, I call it. So I actually glammed myself up, put some makeup on, sitting outside. It's so beautiful here in Michigan. So yeah, I am not going to feel sorry for myself. I'm just going to, I put a little bit of perfume on just to make myself feel, better. So this time, I think the last couple posts, I told you guys that I started a new chemotherapy treatment. It's more aggressive. So it literally, I have been like so tired. Literally, like I said, 3 days I've been like literally in bed. Actually since like Saturday I've literally been in bed, and today is Wednesday. So it's been rough. It's been rough, not just for me but for my family too. They miss me, and they just want to have me feel better. So that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna try to do light things, some dishes, clean a little bit, but not overdo it. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I actually wanted to do a little bit of a story time. When I started YouTube, I just kind of started like positive videos, positive things about cancer and how, you can be an outlet for positivity. That's basically how I started. So I didn't really talk about my story. So my brother always tells me that I'm kind of a lemon. I've been sick like ever since I can remember. I'm adopted, so we don't have a lot of family history, but it's always been kind of, growing up, I've just been always sickly. So probably the last, I would say 5-10 years have been really rough. I've always had really bad asthma, so we've tried to control that. But really it started probably in like 2010. 2010, I was having, sorry, my eyes are super watery because I'm outside and my allergies are terrible. But yeah, 2010, I was having these terrible headaches, kept going to the doctor. They were just increasingly getting worse. My vision was being affected. And so I went to the doctor, and they just kept saying, it's your migraines. I have terrible migraines. They didn't do an MRI. They just kept giving me medicine and pumping me up with medicine. And I'm very sensitive when it comes to medications. I'm allergic to basically everything. So I can't take a lot of medications. So we kind of were going back and forth with this. So it ended up one day I actually passed out at work. And I was literally like laying on the floor for probably like 35 minutes or so until someone like actually went out of the building. And so they called an ambulance. This doctor that I worked for at the time, super crazy, but fantastic doctor. But he told the ambulance, you might want to do an MRI. I bet you she has a brain tumor. That I didn't really remember a lot, but I remembered that. So they ended up doing an MRI, and lo and behold, I actually had a brain tumor as big as a grapefruit. And so they immediately did emergency surgery at that time. So my family was like, oh my gosh, here she passed out and now she's like having major brain surgery. So I ended up having brain surgery. They did the flap, the cranial flap, and then they also, as you can see, have incisions through my eyebrows. So they dissected the brain tumor. And at that time, I did radiation to the brain for several months. It wasn't fully cancerous. I did have a few cancer cells, but they caught it in time. And so I did, radiation at the time. And then everything was good. So in 2012, I literally had a spot on my chest, and I was going through a lot of stressful times in my life. So I, it was sore and was just kind of red, but then it was there maybe for a week and went away. So I thought it was just probably due to stress. So this is probably like February of 2000, actually it would have been, February of 2012. So I just went about my life, did my life, everything was great. So I then, again, probably, it was probably about October of 2012, I ended up having the spot come back. But this time it was really sore, sensitive, hot to the touch. It was draining. And I was like, oh my gosh, maybe like I just had like a cyst or whatever. I literally waited a month before I actually called my doctor, because I thought it would just get better. I was putting antibacterial cream on there, thinking it would get better. It didn't get better, so a month later I called my doctor, made an appointment, which I waited like 2 weeks. And at this point in time, it was just really seeping and really bad. So I saw my doctor, and she right away was like, oh my gosh, why did you let this wait? And I was just, kind of just whatever, not thinking anything of it. I was young, so, I'm like in my late 20s, I'm like 29. So, thinking, whatever, it's not anything major or serious, right? And so it actually ended up, I had an emergency mammogram. So she called in, got a mammogram right away. And as they did the mammogram, they said, we're just going to do the biopsy right now, and do the, mammogram and the biopsy and needle biopsy and ultrasound. So literally like 3 days later, I get a phone call, and it's 9 days before Christmas. And I get a phone call to tell me that I have breast cancer. The weight of my chest was so like terrible. And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm literally almost 30 years old and I have breast cancer. And it was just a really sad thing for me. So I started chemo, and I was like, I'm just gonna wait until after Christmas. I don't want to ruin my kids' Christmas. So started chemo after Christmas, and I did that for over a year. And then in 2015, I was cleared and said that I was good, cancer was gone, everything was great. So I really just lived my life. My hair was growing back. I started to be able to pull it back in a ponytail. It was just so exciting. And then, you have your, yearly visits and whatever. So at this point in time, I'd been experiencing some tiredness, just little things like that. I really thought that it was just stress. So I made an appointment with my doctor. She said, let's, get you in. You're due for your mammogram anyway. Ended up having a mammogram, and there was, a lump. And The very first time that I had the mammogram, they said that it was benign and that it was not anything to be concerned about. And this was in May of 2016. So I went through my summer. I had an extremely stressful summer, and then ended up at the end of August, I had a lump again. So I called my doctor right away, and they got me in to have a mammogram and needle biopsy. And I literally, it took like a week this time for them to call me, and they told me that I had cancer again. And so I literally broke down. I just was a hot mess. I literally like screamed and looked at the ceiling and was like, God, why me? Why is this happening to me and my family, my kids? So I talked it over with Sam, and we decided not to tell the kids right away. So we went, our holidays, Halloween and Thanksgiving. I ended up in December having a lumpectomy and lymph node removal to try to, get the cancer. And then in January, I started chemotherapy. And then I had another, so months go by, and I had gotten really sick. It was like February of 2017. I'd gotten really sick. I work at a doctor's office, so it's easy for me to pick up things. So I'd gotten really sick, ended up going to the hospital because my doctor was like, no, go to the hospital. I had this weird cough, like I had been having this weird cough. Went to the hospital. Short story is that I had nodules in my lungs that had just, come. And so it's been just this journey of, I found out I have metastatic breast cancer with adenocarcinoma, non-small cell lung cancer. So it's just been a battle. It's hard, it's emotional, it is, just a whirlwind. I ended up having to tell my kids, my family, because at this point in time, from when I was diagnosed in October until, February, nobody knew that I was going through this except my wife and maybe like one or two of my friends, but not very many people knew. I just wanted to kind of keep it a secret. I didn't want to be a burden. I just really wanted to just see, make sure that I could do it on my own. So I'm here to tell you that, doing it on your own is great, but it is so important that you need friends, that you need family. Right now, I need my family the most because it's a very scary time right now with my treatments. I'm extremely ill. The doctors, they don't give you great news. So we're going back and forth, getting second opinions. It's just been a blur. But I can say my family has been there for me. I have great family. I have great friends. My mom, my wife, my kids, they have just been like exceptionally gracious. If I don't feel well, they're just super sweet. And I can sleep for 3 or 4 days, and my wife is amazing and wonderful. I would not be able to do my life or with my kids. She takes care of my kids when I'm ill. I just am so grateful for her. My mom, my sister, I have my friends. I have great friends that call and check on me, bring me food, help if they need. It's just really a great, source that I have. I have really bad fog too today, so I keep saying a lot. I do apologize. But so I hope I didn't bore you with my story time. It's a little bit longer video than I usually do, but I hope you all have a great and amazing day. Enjoy this beautiful weather that we have. It's like 80 degrees, so summer has arrived. Just enjoy yourselves, enjoy each other, love yourself, and I will see you next time. Bye.